Hello and good afternoon, teacups. Welcome back to Spill the Tea, Lou. And finally, we have a here we go for Bruno G to Arsenal. Done deal, fee agreed. Here we go. Whatever label you want to put on it, the deal is bloody well done. There's no more. Is he going? Is he not? Will he stay? How much? Not for sale. Contact, no contact. Intermediaries, club to club. He wants to go. He wants to stay. He's in Spain. No, he's not. It's done. My God, I have never in my life been so relieved for a deal to be over. I thought the Mateus Fernandez and the bloody Elliot Anderson deals dragged on and on and on and on. This deal, oh my word, has tested my patience, and neither of the clubs involved are mine. Guys, we can now stop talking about will it happen, won't it? It's happened. He's going. There we go. So now we can actually talk about the deal itself. Is it good? Is it bad? The amount. Does he suit Arsenal? Does it actually impact Newcastle as much as the whole internet seems to think it's going to impact Newcastle? The amount of people, and I cringe a little bit sometimes, the amount of people that I have seen online saying, oh, well, Newcastle didn't want it to be out there that the deal was done until they'd signed his replacement. The same Newcastle that has already signed 5 players, several of whom play in the position of Bruno G. So this notion of they didn't want to announce it or for it to go public until they'd signed his replacement, when they'd already signed a midfielder weeks ago, I have to be honest, I found cringeworthy because it's uninformed. If you don't know, people, it's okay to just say you don't know. To come out and put things out as fact that are just untrue is worse than just saying, you know what, I don't know. This is a topic I don't know all of the things about. So this is the bit of information that I do have. Let's discuss. Also, can I just say, the amount of people using ESPN Brazil as a source when we know that they actively gave us the wrong information, provably about Mateus Cunha last season, but now all of a sudden they're a top tier, super duper number one believable source, is actually mortifying. Lads, pay attention to what you're saying, right? ESPN Brazil, at the end of last season, said with 3 games to go, Mateus Cunha will not play any more minutes for the rest of this season for Manchester United because there's an agreement between the Brazil national team and Man United that he's going to be rested for the next 3 games in the lead up to the World Cup. That was factually untrue because he proceeded to play in the next match after that report. But now all of a sudden, they said the Bruno G deal was done days ago and it suits what people want to think, so they must be telling the truth. Maybe they are, guys. But I don't think anybody can say with any sort of certainty that that's definitely true. So I just think we need to slow our roll a little bit because people have lost it. They're conflating fact with opinion. So what we're going to do today, guys, is we're going to look at the facts and then we're going to look at opinion. And when we go from fact to opinion, we're going to say, this is my opinion, rather than putting your opinion as a fact. Because honestly, we teach this to toddlers. We teach this to toddlers. Don't tell lies and pretend it's the truth. The internet's getting to me, guys. The internet is getting to me. I am so pleased we get to talk about this deal and then move the fuck on. Genuinely delighted. Before I absolutely lose the run of myself, we have memberships, we have super stickers. Hold on till I get into the right section of this so I can see them. Why are you being a silly sausage? Why are you being a silly sausage? Sorry, guys, I did not set my chat up properly because I'm an idiot, but here we are. You would think I don't do this every bloody day, but just don't tell the gremlins. They'll come for me. They will come for me. Right, I'm in. I've got it. So, before I go any further, before I lose my mind, before we look at the facts and the opinions, people, all boxed up. Actually, today, all boxed up unboxed the thumbnail because I was in the middle of adding the thumbnail to the video and I saw the unboxing super chat. So today, all boxed up this afternoon has unboxed the thumbnail, which is quite pretty. I don't like to see him in an Arsenal jersey, but I think I've done a good job on that thumbnail. I picked a good picture of him. Go me. If I'm going to toot my own horn. One woman team, somebody has to toot my horn. But massive shout out, all boxed up. Every single day, almost every single stream with the unboxing sticker. So appreciated. Does not go unnoticed. Rob, always united, always in the super sticker brigade, has sent us the beautiful pair with the thumbs up. Thank you very much to Rob. Again, like all boxed up, so consistent with sending in these super stickers. So much appreciated. Thank you very much. Dibs is back with us. Now, guys, Dibs asked me not to tell anybody, but he heard this deal was Here We Go today, and that's the reason he's back on the channel. It's not true. I'm lying. Sorry, Dibs. But Dibs is back with us after an incredibly busy summer. And he says, with his 1 month membership, by the way, official teacup status, has all his membership stickers, can do all the special membership things, and is using his 1 month membership free chat to say, hi, Boss Lady Lou, I'm back, jazz hands. He didn't put the jazz hands, that was me. I missed you all and the rest of your amazing teacups for the greater good. So shout out to Dibs for rejoining us. Shout out to Dibs, 1 month, an official member. Woohoo! And Shem! Shem's got on the sticker party today, and he says he sent us the how's it going pair, which kind of lies down. The how's it going pair reminds me a little bit of the Titanic. Of you know when Rose lies down for Jack to paint her or whatever, he just draw her charcoal or whatever he was doing, and then a meme sort of came about of like, paint me like one of your French girls, Jack. That's the how's it going pair, the way it lies down. When that one comes in, I immediately think of paint me like one of your French girls, Jack. So if you ever wanted to know what ADHD does to your brain, that's what it does to mine. I see a pair that says how's it going and I think of Jack and Rose on the Titanic. We got it. We've got it, guys. Oh my goodness me, all of the beautiful people. Lies. Luke is in the chat. Hello to Luke. Lovely Steph, who says, good afternoon, Lou, and fellow tea spillers. Hello to you. Daz, of course, our own Mama Flossie is in the house. Hassan is here. Hello, Hassan. Who else have we got? We've said Shem and Rob and Gaz. Hello to you. Hassan reminding everyone to please hit the likes. Absolutely. Rob reckons the pair looks like him, so maybe he wants to be painted by Jack. He's clearly put this in before I told you what it makes me think of. So wonderful timing, love that. All boxed up, of course, is here on Box the Show. Godfrey in the house. Hello to Godfrey. Lovely Luke is here as well. Paige also. Have I got all the teacups? I hope I've got you all. If not, I will find you as the show goes on. So, Dibs defending for his life after I've thrown him under the bus with a total lie. And that's how easy it is, guys, to just tell a lie about somebody on the internet. And if I didn't tell you it was a lie, and he's just come back today, and he's an Arsenal fan, you'd just believe me, wouldn't you? Flossie says, it's great to have Dibs back. One of the OGs. Actually, speaking of OGs, speaking of Dibs, let me get... Dibs, we have an FPL league, and you are obliged to be a part of it. Let me get the link for the FPL, because we do have people returning. People are returning. Do you know what it is? I'll be honest to San. I'm vexed about the deal because United inquired right at the start of the summer. We were told he wasn't for sale and we just went, oh, okay. So I'm a bit vexed at my club that we just were like, all right, okay. But you know what? In general, though, I'm actually just more vexed at how the deal is being presented by some very prominent people. Because I feel that the deal is being presented as very one-sided in order to appeal to a specific audience rather than trying to present the facts. And I think what happens then is that sometimes it's some of the information's left out. So first of all, yeah, like rivals aren't going to be happy that you've bought a player that strengthens you. So vexing, yes. I'm equally vexed because my own team literally looked at this player who would have been very good for us and then just went, okay, well, if he's not for sale, no problem, which is just very United at the moment. I also think the way it's being presented is highly irritating. Like, we had people in here yesterday, and I'm not picking on them, it's about how the news is being put out there, that didn't know Newcastle had made a signing this summer because people are just talking about how, I saw somebody yesterday saying Newcastle's going to be in a relegation battle. And I'm like, you're just not paying attention. So Newcastle, by the way, for those that don't know, Newcastle have made 5 signings this summer, and they're in the middle of working on several more, which we've discussed. And I think because of the way the news is being put out there, people don't have all the information, and that is vexing. That's actually really vexing. So this deal is vexing on multiple levels. But I agree with you. You should be happy about that. See, the angrier people are at United, the happier I am. Because if you're angry about Man United, it means we're doing something good and you're angry because you're a rival. So you enjoy it, lap it up, but just remember there's 2 sides to every transfer. Let me see. Yeah, and see, I've seen a lot of this. I just wholeheartedly disagree with this. And I have to be honest, I've seen a lot of Newcastle fans react this way, which Foxy is a Newcastle fan. I just totally disagree. I really disagree. And again, it's not my club. So your opinion supersedes mine. But I wholeheartedly disagree. I don't think it is a disaster deal at all. I don't think it was weak. I think you've done really well. This is the downside. This is the one downside. I think it's like 20% their sell-on clause, which is quite big. But I think that's an indication of a bad deal when you took them in the first place rather than a bad deal now. The sell-on, yes, I agree, that's bad. Sell-on is bad. I'm pretty sure it's 20%. Flossie says, the only thing I am angry about in this deal is that Newcastle are being made out to be the bad ones. A lot of the time by your own fans, to be fair as well. A Chelsea fan? Oh, because it's strengthening Arsenal. Interesting. I mean, I can understand Chelsea fans not being happy about it because nobody wants to see Arsenal strengthened except for Arsenal. So like Chelsea, City, Liverpool, us. But I mean, losing it is a bit much for like a club that's not involved. I'm displeased, but I'm not like raging. Rob is celebrating the here we go with 5 memberships. Massive shout out to Rob. 5 more memberships. Who has got them? Right, let me get to the chat till I see who has got them. Hassan has got one. Well done to Hassan. Sold Wide has got one. Dan has got one. Vano has got one. And Ghost London has got one. So W's for Rob. Massive shout out. 5 gifted membership to celebrate the end of the Bruno G saga. I can't think of a more appropriate way to celebrate than more official teacups. So massive shout out to Rob. Welcome to all of the new official teacups. You have now got access to all of the membership stickers, which are loads of fun. There's lots of different things on the membership. You'll get a free chat at the end, at each month mark, as Dibs demonstrated today. Loads and loads of stuff going on. But yeah, so thank you very much to Rob. If you got one, make sure you say thank you to Rob. I'm assuming you mean Luke Edwards. I mean, that only applies to Luke Edwards. But I think that's unfair because while, yes, I don't think he acts like a journalist, I think he acts like an over-emotional fan, and I think he's quite embarrassing, to be fair. I think pick your lane, be a journalist or be a fan. I don't think you can try and do both on the same platform. But I don't think that's what caused the drama. I think what caused the drama was a club captain forcing his way out of a club after scandalling another player for doing it last season. And I think Arsenal fans need to just take a moment. And this isn't a criticism of you. I think it raises a really good point. I think there's so much on this deal that's pushed out. Arsenal wanted it. I've seen it. People saying Arsenal want the player wants to go, Newcastle should just give him up. Sorry, what? Would you just give up your captain because somebody else wanted him? Like, if, I don't know, who is to Arsenal? Like, it's not a rival. That's, just imagine it was the other way around, right? Let's just imagine. We're playing pretend here. Imagine your captain just wanted to go to Newcastle and he's not publicly refusing to go to training or anything, but it's quite public that he wants to leave Arsenal. You don't want to sell him. You up until this point thought he was devoted to your club. And then everyone's like, just let him go. Like, whatever the price is, just let him go. Doesn't matter. Like, what are you trying to charge more money for? Just let him go. Your club captain, what's the big deal? I do think we have to look at it from the other side. Do you know what I mean? I think we have to be realistic. Because let me be quite clear. If Bruno F instead of Bruno G had done what Bruno G was doing, I would have lost my absolute mind. And the thing is, I would have sold Bruno to Saudi last summer when they were in from. So it's not even as if I'd be overly devastated. Now, he's grown back on me. I don't want to sell him this summer. But I'm not one of those like Bruno in the fan club people. But if my club captain was doing what Bruno has done, employing a super agent to force his way out of the club, but doing it in a sneaky way so he didn't look like Isak and be the bad guy, I have to be honest, I'd be absolutely furious. And I most certainly would not be saying, oh, just take whatever we can get from. So I'm going to read the report. I'm going to try my best to give a balanced opinion because this is a very good deal for Arsenal. And here's the thing. I'm not trying to criticise Arsenal. Arsenal did what they needed to do. They did very well. They got a deal over the line that I did not, when this news first came out, think was possible. I didn't think it was going to happen. I immediately poo-pooed it. Straight away when this news came out, I was like, well, that's not happening. It's not even worth talking about. So completely hands up, very good deal, very good player, excellent price, all good stuff for Arsenal. They did what they needed to do. No criticism whatsoever. But I think the criticism of Newcastle, I think, is a bit much. I actually think it's completely unfair. And I think people were asking Newcastle to behave in a way they wouldn't want their club to behave in because it's popular. It's popular this at the minute. So do you know the way it's popular to pick on Spurs, like Spursy, that's so Spursy, and it's fun to pick on Spurs. I feel like Newcastle are a bit like Spurs at the minute. It's fun to pick on Newcastle. Oh, ha, 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 Newcastle. That's the vibe I get on the internet at the minute. And I just find it really irritating. It's really grinding my gears. So let me read the report and then we'll get into more opinion because it is one that has the opinions going. So this one was from Keith Downey. And I'm purposely going to Keith Downey first because, again, one of the things being said across the internet is that all of the Newcastle reporters are brutal and they're all liars. There's one which was referred to who's a bit of a menace. That does not mean that you get to discredit everybody else's entire career and work because one of them is not good. So, Arsenal, and this is Keith Downey, Arsenal have agreed a £75 million fee with Newcastle United for their captain, Bruno Guimaraes. The Newcastle captain has been given permission to travel to London for a medical. Guimaraes told Newcastle bosses earlier this summer that he wanted to join Arsenal if a suitable offer arrived. Bruno did everything Newcastle asked, which I see some of you are saying, well, what did he do wrong compared to Isak? So I am going to answer those questions. Bruno did everything Newcastle asked, including attending training camp in La Manga, and great respect remains between the player and club. Now, the vast majority of the comments underneath this from Newcastle fans are saying, what respect? He's lost respect. The way he's gone about, the way it's been negotiated, he hired a super agent and intermediaries to push his way out of a club he's a captain of. He can F off, pushed for the move, spoke to Arsenal before the end of the season, told the club he only wants to move there. He's the club captain and an absolute embarrassment for the club. Be careful who you trust with the armband next. Someone else here that agrees with Foxy's take. Owners rolled over once again. Whatever the agents want, we just make it happen. Another one saying the Newcastle ownership is weak. Mumba, another user, says there isn't mutual respect. The fans have lost respect from he can F off to London. Nobody's buying this great respect line. They're trying to push. Hired a disgraced super agent to unsettle the club and enable Arsenal to lowball us. So, there's a lot of unhappy fans. Now, obviously, that's not all the fans. Nobody's representative of all the fans. But just to give you a taste of what's being said on that post. Fabrizio obviously got involved with the here we go. Bruno Guimaraes to Arsenal, here we go. Agreement in place with Newcastle after long talks and personal terms in place with Bruno since July, which we already know. Fee worth, and this is what people are talking about, £75 million. New midfielder for Mikel Arteta. David Ornstein, obviously, because we can't do a deal done post without David Ornstein as well. Newcastle United to sanction a sale of Bruno Guimaraes to Arsenal for £75 million. Arsenal started lower, Newcastle wanted higher, but compromise in the process of being sealed to grant 28-year-old Brazil international midfielder desired move. Leon entitled to 20% of the profit, which is a big percentage. So, I'm going to tell you my opinion, and then I'm going to come back to your comments, and we can go back and forth then over it. So, transfer window awaiting all the flops, fun and games. And I think that's a really good, interesting comment, not specifically about Bruno G, but in general. There has been a lot of big fees waved about the place this summer. There's been a lot of sagas, actually. There's been a lot of long, drawn-out deals. There's been a lot of hijacking. There's been actually quite a bit of chaos in this window. And I do think some of these players, just in the numbers game, some of these players will flop. Some of them will be a rip-roaring success. Some of them will be a surprise package. Some of them are absolutely going to flop. I personally do not think Bruno G is going to flop at Arsenal at all. I don't think Bruno G is a flop anywhere he goes. I think he could go anywhere and he'd be very good. But I definitely think there is going to be flops. I definitely think there's going to be flops. It's just a percentage. No individual club ever gets transfers 100%. In recruitment, nothing is ever 100%. Therefore, just statistically, there will be flops. It'll be interesting to see who they are, because they're not going to be the ones that we're expecting. So, thank you very much, by the way. But do keep getting your comments in. I am absolutely going to come to them. My opinion. So, start at the start. I really, really, really like Bruno G as a player. I think he's a really good player. I said at the start of the window, when Man United, were linked to Tonali, I said I would rather get Bruno G. He's more what we're looking for. We were supposedly linked to him. We were told he wasn't available, and then we just walked away because we don't want to do anything that's difficult, apparently. When the link for Bruno G to Arsenal first came about, I thought it was complete nonsense. First of all, we had already inquired and been told he wasn't for sale. Second of all, as we know, Bruno G, not only the captain, but has been utterly devoted to Newcastle. His gates at his home, as Mama Flossie told us, in Brazil, are in the image of the gates at St. James's Park. He has the crest of Newcastle on the gates to his home in Brazil, okay? That is love. That is love for a club. So did I think Bruno G was going to go to Arsenal when the news first came out? Absolutely not. The point where I probably changed my mind is when, during the World Cup, we saw the news of the 3 super agents getting involved, having meetings, getting into discussions. At that point, I thought, oh, this might actually happen. From that, we've seen multiple other things. And then it got to the point maybe 2 days ago where it just felt completely inevitable. So, what does it mean for Newcastle? I think it's quite disappointing. I think he's a very good player. He was clearly their captain. And you know what? I don't think they minded overall, as a general rule, losing Anthony Gordon or Tonali, especially with the level of money that they brought in. Losing Bruno G is very much a blow, both to the morale, to the atmosphere, just to everything. However, at the end of last season, we said, and it was widely said on the internet, that part of the problem with Newcastle was Eddie Howe. He's now gone. We also said on this channel they had the highest average age of any squad in the Premier League, and they needed to bring in younger players, not teenagers, younger players, to bring down that average age, to bring more energy, and to bring new things. So I think, do you know what? While it's disappointing for them to lose Bruno G, I think overall it presents an opportunity for a clean slate. You've wiped the board. You've got rid of a lot of the leadership, a lot of the experienced heads. You've got rid of your manager. You've essentially just cleared house. And I think to lose both Eddie Howe and Bruno G at the same time, it feels like a passing off the guard. It feels like a genuine start of a genuinely new project, not a bit of patchwork from previous projects stuck to some new projects. I think it's a loss for Newcastle. I also think it presents an opportunity for an entirely clean slate, which probably, based on last season, is actually what they needed. So it may end up being a blessing in disguise. In terms of Arsenal, because obviously I personally have spent on this channel a lot of time speaking about this deal from the point of view of Newcastle. And so if I'm telling people to speak about it from both sides, I do also want to speak about it from the Arsenal point of view. So Bruno G to Arsenal, what does that do for Arsenal? What is this deal for Arsenal? So the thing is, I think he's a very good player. I would have happily taken him at Man United. I don't think you can ever consider it a bad deal when you get a player like Bruno G. I think it's a really, really good deal by Arsenal. I think getting him for 75 million is a really good price. I thought even if it was possible to get him, you probably were looking at closer to 100 million. I definitely didn't think you'd get him for under 80. So 75 million, very experienced. We know when he's at a club, he's dedicated to that club, because while he was at Newcastle, he was dedicated to Newcastle. And I think he provides the ability to give some of your other players rest, which you sorely needed at the end of last season. I think it's a fantastic deal for Arsenal. Really fantastic. I don't have any negatives for Arsenal. I think it's a really, really good deal. You're getting a really, really good player. You're getting him at a decent price. And you're probably going to get he's 28, going 29. So you're probably going to get 3 to 4 years out of him. I've no negatives to say about Arsenal. I think it's very, very, very good. I already thought you were favourites for the league. So there's a lot of people saying now, oh, well, this guarantees that Arsenal go back to back. I disagree with that. I don't think this guarantees that Arsenal go back to back. Prior to this deal, we spoke about it the other day. I already think Arsenal are the favourites as it stands for the Premier League next season. More transfers might change that. There might be more obvious challengers. I think Bruno adds to that. I don't think he's the difference maker. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he's the catalyst that makes you go back to back. I think he adds to the probability that was already there, personally. But I don't think, and I might be on my own on this, I don't think the price is necessarily terrible for Newcastle either. Because at the end of the day, we spoke about this. There was this gentleman's agreement that was supposedly agreed by Amanda Staveley, who just denies everything despite all of the players saying there was agreements with her, that supposedly Bruno G was going to be available for 50 to 60 million. Arsenal thought initially they were going to get Bruno for 50 to 60 million. It has been widely agreed by all of the journalists that the initial unofficial bid through intermediaries was around 50 million. So they have paid Arsenal 25 more than they expected to pay. It's still a really good price. I'm not criticising the price you've paid, and it's obviously much less than Newcastle initially wanted. However, it's also drastically more than Arsenal initially wanted to pay. It's a good price for a very good player. Arsenal have paid more than they wanted to. Newcastle have accepted less than they wanted to. It's compromise. It's meeting in the middle, almost exactly in the middle. So again, it's not that I think Arsenal have lost here, but I also don't think I just don't think 75 million is bad for Newcastle when the initial offer was around 50. That's a drastic improvement for a player that very clearly wanted to leave and only wanted to go to one club. Most teams, or a lot of teams in that scenario, would not have got the money up the way Newcastle did. So I actually think it's very good negotiating on Newcastle's part. Arsenal have still got a good price, but Newcastle have negotiated very well. And I just think you can give credit to both. You don't have to say, oh, well, Arsenal have got a good deal, Newcastle have lost, or vice versa. You can give credit to both. Newcastle got good money for a player they didn't want to lose. Arsenal got a good price for a player they really wanted that wanted to join them. Newcastle lose out on the player, yes. But I just don't think it's dramatic as people are saying. I just don't. But, let me scroll, because I see there's loads of you chatting. So let me scroll away on up. Mr. DJ Milkshake has joined us. Hello to you, my dear. Let me see, right? Let me stop just here. Mr. DJ Milkshake with a question. How much of the Newcastle turnover is on Howe's erratic management or from the board? Turnover in players? I would suggest all of it, because the reason you leave is that you don't believe in the plan anymore. You don't believe in the plan anymore because it feels erratic and it's not actually following a plan. It's not stable. It's not working in any direction. We know progress isn't linear, but you want to see the direction you're moving in. So I would suggest all of it. I think that's why any player leaves a club, is because they don't believe in the project anymore. So I'm giving them all the blame. Still bad dad in the house. Hello to you. Foxy says, I don't blame Bruno for wanting to leave, but the way he's gone about it for me. Actually, yes. Let me just address that, because I did see a lot of people asking, why am I comparing it to Isak? Isak refused to go to training and basically went on strike. That's not what Bruno's done. It's not what Bruno's done. But Bruno has still pushed. I suppose how it works in my head, Isak pushed his way out of the club when the club didn't want to sell him. That's what happened. Newcastle did not want to sell Alexander Isak. He carried out actions that forced the move through against Newcastle's wishes. The actions that he took were to go on strike, to not attend the pre-season, to publicly put out news through his agent or whoever about behind the scenes agreements, again with Amanda Staveley, which were then denied by Amanda Staveley, who has now bought shares in West Ham. Best of luck to them. He wanted to leave. Newcastle didn't want him to. He pushed it through to make it happen. Bruno G has done the exact same thing. The club did not want to sell him. He wanted to go, and he has taken actions to push his way out. What he has done is been a bit more subtle than Isak. So he hasn't refused to go to training. He hasn't refused to come back to the club. He hasn't publicly come out and said all sorts of nonsense. However, we did have the story about a gentleman's agreement. That was put out by somebody, and Arsenal wouldn't know about a gentleman's agreement between Newcastle and a player. So that's come from the player's side. He has also hired or got his agent to hire or an intermediary. He has sanctioned the hiring of super agents in order to push this deal through. It has become publicly known that he told Newcastle he wants to leave. Newcastle haven't put that out there, which means somebody belonging to him did, and he has sanctioned it. At no point does he come out and say, I want to stay at Newcastle, this is all nonsense. So he might have been a little bit more subtle than Alexander Isak, but at the end of the day, he has orchestrated and participated in actions to force his way out of Newcastle, which is exactly what Alexander Isak did. That's why I think it's the same. You can disagree, but I think it's the same. He's just been a little more subtle. He's been a little more intelligent about it, but what he's done is actually the same, in my opinion. You might disagree. Flossie says, there's a lot that could be laid at Howe's feet, constantly picking his favourites and players out of possession. The players out of possession does me in with all managers. Flossie says, to me, it was clear he was going as soon as he changed agents. And there you go. There's an action that he took to make it happen. Do you know what I mean? Hassan says, Bruno showed up to training and everything. I honestly believe that if Howe hadn't left as abruptly, maybe this deal doesn't happen. Timing is way too much to be a coincidence. Totally disagree. I actually think Howe knew Bruno was going, and that was Howe's last straw. I think so. You have it that Howe went, then Bruno. I actually think behind the scenes they had spoken. They're incredibly close. Everybody knows they're incredibly close. I fully believe Howe became aware Bruno was going to go, and that was his last straw, and then he went. We found out about Howe first, officially, but I don't think it actually happened first, if that makes sense. But that's a theory. Foxy says, hiring the super agents behind backs during the World Cup, pushing a move based on verbal promises, first sign of difficulty once out, when we needed stability, and all that about his kids are Geordie's doing. I have now answered this question. I did see a few people asking, so I wanted to answer that. Flossie says, we're not allowed to defend our players, say they're staying, etc., because we're being fed lies, yet the same people believe everything their journalists say. Yeah. And I just think no matter who the journalist is, you have to take it with a pinch of salt, because journalists can only give you the information that they have, and obviously they don't have all the information. So none of them know anything 100%. We know some of them are more reliable than others. Like, for example, Keith Downey is more reliable than Luke Edwards. In my opinion, based on what I've seen. But I don't think you can just blanket say all the Newcastle journalists are brutal. I just don't think that's fair. I think it's untrue. And I think it's quite insulting to the work that they do in their careers. Tony says, hello to Tony. We bought a player for half what we're getting back, and he played an amazing for 5 years. That's a good deal. Most teams would love to be able to do what we've done. We've brought in 250 million from 3 players. And that's what we spoke about on the People Are Sleeping on Newcastle show. Absolutely agree. Mohammed is with us. Hello to you. Mr. DJ Milkshake says, allowing Arsenal to lowball Newcastle is a bit shady on Bruno's part, but clubs do the same all the time. Harold's with us. Hello to Harold. Huge says, the thing is, if Bruno G flops, I can't see that hurting Arsenal because they have the depth. So I don't think he will be considered a flop even if he doesn't play. I don't know. I just don't see him flopping. I really don't see him flopping. With Isak, we knew he was injury prone and then he got an injury. While the injury wasn't predictable, him getting one was. So I didn't think that was shocking. If Bruno G flops, if Bruno G doesn't play well and doesn't contribute, I would be really surprised. I would be really surprised, personally. But you never know in football. Never say never, say never. Not in football. Hassan says, here's the thing. 75 million is a lot of money and Bruno is worth that price. It's not a lowball deal. Y'all are still dazed from the Fernandes, Tonali and Anderson deals, which are seriously out there. I don't know who y'all are, but I'm certainly not dazed, and I don't think anyone in the chat is dazed. And I think that's quite insulting because somebody has a different opinion than you. They're dazed and they don't know what they're talking about. No, they've just got a different opinion than you, which is also informed, which is also based on the news. They've read the same information as you, or maybe more, or maybe less, but they've come to a different conclusion. It doesn't mean they're dazed. It doesn't mean anybody's dazed or doesn't understand or isn't fully informed just because their opinion is not the same as yours. And I think and I actually see a lot of content creators saying that. Well, if your opinion is different than mine, it's because you don't fully understand. If your opinion is different than mine, it's because you don't really know what you're talking about. If your opinion's different than mine, you're obviously just a bit thick. I think it's really condescending. Sometimes people just have the same information and come to a different conclusion. If people haven't looked at all the information, then fairs. But if they've got all the information and they've just come to a different conclusion, that's not them being dazed, that's just a different opinion. But 75 million is a lot of money, but not for their club captain that they didn't want to sell in an overinflated window where all the players are going for big money. 75 million is a lot of money. I think it should have been more. I'm not dazed, I've just got an opinion. Danny in the house. Hello to Danny and welcome. DJ Milkshake says City's going to win the league by 12 points. It doesn't matter. It's all irrelevant. Harold doing Arsenal prop. Gabriel, Rice, Odegaard, Bruno G, Zubamendi, Saka, Gyökeres, all in their prime at the same time. Still Bad Dad says, new manager, several new players, new regime. Here we go. I'm up for the new challenge. That's what football is all about. I think it's really exciting for Newcastle. I think it's really exciting. There's always the possibility it just doesn't work. I think it's a really, really exciting phase. I think you're entering like a completely new era for your football club. And I don't know if it would hit quite as hard if Bruno hadn't gone as well. I know you would have prepared to keep him, but I think Bruno G and Eddie Howe going at the same time, it hits really hard. It just feels like a fresh team. Fresh team. Rob says, please don't forget to hit the like button. It's free. Correct and right, Rob. It is free. All Boxed Up says, I credit Newcastle for clearing their decks and taking in shed loads of money this window. Yeah, so they've taken in a whole heap of money. They've bought a heap of players and they've still got loads of money left over. All Boxed Up says, Newcastle and Villa are hamstrung initially by PSR and now SCR. Many others too, meaning they have to manipulate the system by selling big value players to the big six who are favoured by restrictions over others. And there's a lot of people with that opinion as well. Moonshine has joined us and also reminds everybody to please hit the like button. I mean, I don't think we could remind you any more than we already do. Tony is talking about Anis Hadj Musa, which we spoke about the other day, looks sensational. Also mentions Angelo Stiller. As I said, that, as far as I understand, that rumour was started by Mark Goldbridge, who does sometimes get information, but until I see an actual journalist talking about that, I'm not on the Angelo Stiller thing. But Anis Hadj Musa looks really good. Bruno wanted out. The players always get what they want when they push. Bruno G is prem proven he will not flop. I also don't think he'll flop. I really don't. I'm always dazed, says Moonshine. Yeah, but that's what I mean. I don't think anyone is bewildered. I think they've just got a different opinion. And I think when the market is overinflated and then you sell a player that's not at an inflated price in the market you're operating in, then you've missed an opportunity. So I think Newcastle have got a good deal getting it from 50 up to 75. However, in this current market, based on how much I rate the player, I believe he's worth 80 to 100. So I think Arsenal, while they've paid more than they wanted, have got a good deal. While Newcastle have accepted less than they wanted, they've got a good deal because it's much more than Arsenal initially wanted to pay. I think both have got a good deal financially, if that makes sense. All boxed up. Polite warning to Arteta. So-called, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Tin hats at the ready. There. Huge says, I can't say Newcastle should be that angry with the players that want to leave, but you have got good money for them. We all have seen players screw the clubs over, Trent and Konate, and we had Sancho. Yes, we had Sancho and we were very angry at him. We had Garnacho and we were very angry at him. I don't think you can tell a fan base you're not allowed to be angry at your players, your club captain pushing for a move. I think fans are absolutely entitled to be angry if they want. And I totally understand why Newcastle fans are angry. He went and slaughtered and threw shades all over Isak for pushing a move out of Newcastle. He then went and did the same thing. Newcastle fans are absolutely entitled to be angry. They're entitled to be angry about the fee. I disagree with them, but they're entitled to be angry. And I see that we're talking about other channels in the chat. Excellent. That's certainly relevant to the Bruno G conversation. But, overall, I think primarily I'm just happy that it's done. I think initially some of us were skeptical, and then I think recently we've been it's been so obvious it was going to happen. I was just so sick of talking about it. It was like back and forth over semantics. It was the only thing that journalists were really talking about. See, even me trying to find other news and other sort of stories outside of Bruno G has been really difficult. And I find it really boring, regardless of the teams or the players involved, to speak about the same thing over and over and over and over. So I'm really just relieved it's done, because what I'm hoping now is that it's done, we're going to start getting more news. Because I think, and this is very much a theory, I feel like some of the clubs that maybe don't want to do too much in the window, that are feeling a little bit lazy, that are they're quite happily skating by, doing nothing. United, I'm looking at you, because all the people in the news are talking about Newcastle and Arsenal and Bruno G and Vinny, which we know is going to start getting talked about again now that Bruno's done. And I feel like clubs like mine are sort of like, oh, well, everybody's talking about them. They're not talking about us. We can just sit here and do nothing for a little while. Now, that's very much conspiracy theory, guys. Very much conspiracy theory. I'm aware that is not grounded in reality, but that's how I feel. I feel like my club is hiding behind the news of other clubs to not do anything. Nobody's looking at us. Don't move and they won't spot us. Let them all just keep talking about Arsenal and Newcastle. So what I'm kind of hoping is, now that Bruno G is done, people are going to start talking about Man United again, and our board might feel under a little bit of pressure to get another player. That's kind of what I'm hoping. Velocity says, how long is left in the window? Changing it. Let me see. Like every year it keeps changing. So let me see. When does the transfer window close? Because I don't know if it's after or before the season starts now because it keeps changing. September the 3rd at 5 p.m. instead of midnight. Interesting. I suppose last season nobody really did any late night deals, so it probably removed the fun. But September the 3rd, 5 p.m. feels a little random. But anyway, I didn't know that. NS Sports, welcome to the chat, says, I hope he flops. I don't think he will, but as a rival, I hope he does. I mean, I think we all hope he flops, to be fair. And this is where, right, Arsenal fans, because we have a lot of our Arsenal fans in the chat today, take it in the good-natured way it's meant. Because you know in here, I'm not mad on the rage bit. I'm not mad on Banter Central as like an excuse to be a horrible person. But take it in the light-hearted spirit it's meant. By some rival fans, some will just be hateful. But some, like, your rivals don't want you to do well. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you want any of us to do well and get really good players and that they all hit the ground running? No, you don't. You want our players to all come in and flop. So, in a good-natured, fun way, I hope he absolutely flops. Because it gives my team a better chance of being a bit less shit. I don't think he will. I agree with NS Sports. I don't think he will at all. But I absolutely hope he does. Like, obviously, you never wish injury on a player, especially not like an exceptionally serious injury. But when Isak got injured, while I felt sorry for him because it's such a serious injury, I also thought, just for Newcastle. Not for him, but not for Newcastle, for Liverpool. And again, not in a like nasty way, but in a like, your rivals don't want you to do well way. If they did, it's a little bit of an issue, you know? And see, like there, Hassan says, I enjoy it anyway. And that's it. It's a little bit of fun. It's just a little bit of fun. Just sneaks out sometimes. Mr. DJ Milkshake says, Bruno won't flop. He just doesn't help them score goals, so he doesn't move the needle. Will you say that? He was in the top 9% of central midfielders for goals last season. So he sort of does. Sorry to break that one to you. According to FotMob, go to FotMob, type in Bruno G, go to his player traits. He's in the top 9% of central midfielders in the Premier League for goals. So he does help them score goals. Sorry. I've just burst the bubble there entirely. I personally think of him as a much more defensive player, which is why I went to get these stats, so I wasn't just going on my own bias. And according to FotMob, he's in the top 11% for chances created and the top 9% for goals. So he does. They most certainly did not have him playing forward. They absolutely did not. He was the deeper midfielder. Tonali was the one that went forward. I watched a lot of Newcastle last season. They did not have him going forward. Tonali was the one that moved forward. Bruno spent more time defending. So they didn't have him going forward. Now, Arsenal might definitely play him differently than Newcastle did. But they definitely, Newcastle did not have him going forward. That was Tonali's job. Dibs says, I don't mind it. When you're at the top, everyone below you wants to pull you down again. That's natural. It's sport at the end of the day for the greater good. Exactly. Because you see, when United were in third and everyone was like, oh, United, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, but we're in third. Who cares? Do you know what I mean? Criticize more. Because that's the fun of it. I think that's where the difference is. Having a bit of fun, like genuine fun, a laugh together, or being spiteful and kind of nasty about it, I think that's the difference. I agree. Hassan says, if he plays 8 instead of 6, it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be very interesting. Wes, hello to Wes, and welcome. Tony, backing me up. Bruno spends most of his time in defensive midfield. Agreed. That's what I saw on the pitch when I was watching you last season. And Big Joe just kicked everybody. He was like the bouncer. If you go past the other two, you had to fight Big Joe. That's what it sounds like. Let me see. No, I have to say, even considering I watched you last season, I watched so many Newcastle games last season. I was so shocked by that stat. And I was like, why am I shocked by this? I literally watched him. And I was genuinely shocked by that. Not because I thought he couldn't, but because he is a more defensive player, I was really surprised. I would have expected Tonali, and I haven't looked, to have, say, a lot of assists, because I found he was out on the wing more than he was anywhere else. Wes says, Bruno is a better Zubimendi and Rice does the running. Luke, I hope you do well and finish just behind the champions. See? It's just a laugh. It's a joke. That's obviously about Isaac. And that's it. You don't want it to be serious, but it just is a little bit of like vindication. It's like karma. But I laugh, to be fair. I laugh more at Liverpool than the player, to be fair. Let me see. What else have we got? Yes. Good-natured banter is fun. Guys, I think the only thing that I can say that's going to make this stream even better is I'm on Footy Judge Mo today. Guess what Footy Judge Mo is going to want to talk about? So I'm going to be there, 5 o'clock, Footy Judge Mo, I believe Ashraf, and me, the terrible trio, back in action on the day that the Bruno G Here We Go has come out. So that's going to be an incredibly interesting show. If you're at a loose end, if you're free, please do check it out. There won't be a 7 p.m. show today, guys, because obviously the last time I was on Footy Judge Mo, we started at 5 and we didn't finish till 7:10 because we were just nattering away. So there's not going to be an evening show this evening because most likely it's going to be the same thing. We're going to be nattering away and I just won't have time. So hopefully you've enjoyed the lunchtime show enough to keep you going till tomorrow's lunchtime show, because I will be back tomorrow, obviously at 12 o'clock. Thank you very much for being here. Shout out to Mama Flossie getting the link in for Footy Judge Mo. 5 o'clock, guys. That's where I'm going to be. We're going to have such a giggle. Me, Ashraf, and Footy Judge Mo, we have such a giggle on those shows. Ram came in last week and bless him, didn't know what to do with himself because he was like, what is this madness? But thank you all for being here. Thank you very much for getting all your comments in, for putting in the different points of view, for putting in the different opinions. It gives the show so much more depth and colour when we talk about all the different opinions from the different sides. Really, really appreciate it. Special shout out, all boxed up unboxing the show. Rob Always United, both with the super sticker and the gifted membership. Dibs back in the house, ready for the Premier League and renewing his membership. Shem with the Titanic pair super sticker, and all boxed up, finishing us off. Can't wait for the season and the mayhem that is yet to come. Ye are all fantastic. Enjoy your afternoon, guys.